My name is Megan. We are going to be recording this session. So in case you have a coworker or someone in the community that missed it, they can go back and watch it on our website or on our YouTube. Or if you just have questions and want to go back. So like I said, welcome to our fourth and final Lunch and Learn series for Domestic Violence and Domestic Violence Awareness Month 2021. We are so glad that you can join us. Feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat as well. I am Megan, our Outreach and Training Coordinator here at Journey Center for Safety and Healing. Today, we are lucky to have Carrie Joseph, who is our Prevention and Community Engagement Manager, talking to us about prevention and community engagement. So Carrie, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, thank you for joining us for this presentation. As Megan said, I am Carrie Joseph, and I am the Prevention and Community Engagement Manager. So for those of you who may not be familiar with a Journey Center, a little technical glitch here. There we go. Okay, so Journey Center for Safety and Healing. We provide support to individuals who have been impacted by abuse, whether it's child abuse or domestic violence. So we provide support through education, advocacy, and systemic change. So before I get into the presentation, again, my role is to oversee the community education and activities that we do in the community. I also do engagement with other organizations. So one of the programs that we do in the community, we have two community advocates that work in the community that work with the Latina community. So we provide advocacy services through a cultural lens, and it's through a true cultural lens. Our advocates are native of Latino communities. So we have an advocate, I'm sorry, not enough coffee today. We have one advocate in domestic relations court, and she is from Bolivia. And then the two community advocates are from Argentina and Puerto Rico. So the services they provide are from a true cultural lens. They work with individuals who have experienced abuse, and many of them are immigrants. So we do work with anyone in the Latino community that needs support, male, female, anyone who needs that support. So they're offering safe options for individuals. So that often includes housing, they're doing safety plans, whatever that person might need. We also have weekly support groups that are done in Spanish, and those are at a confidential location. However, when they contact the advocates, they will make sure that they can get to that location. And we also have therapy services that are done in Spanish. So those therapy services are for children and adults. The children receive art therapy. We've been fortunate enough to be able to provide some art therapy. And we also have just, your basic therapy. And this can be done either by telehealth or in person. Again, we contract with a therapist who does speak Spanish and is also a native of a Latino community. So we provide those services in the community. We have domestic violence education classes. So one of our education programs is a domestic violence education program. This education is focused on the dynamics of domestic violence. It's not an end-all be-all sort of education. When they come through the class, it doesn't mean it's not going to, they're not going to experience any problems again. But what it does is help them understand those things that the dynamics that are involved in domestic violence, so that they can make better decisions, more informed decisions after experiencing the abuse. So it is a 7-week program. It is a curriculum-based program. Unfortunately, it's one of the only programs that we charge for, unfortunately, based on funding. We did have to start charging that $20 registration fee, but it's a 7-week program, and they are closed sessions. We have an advocate, a community advocate that facilitates this group. And again, it's in a confidential setting, a closed group for individuals who participate. And we are practicing social distancing. So we do have barriers up on the tables to make the clients feel more comfortable coming into this type of group setting. So we are practicing as much social distancing and precautions as we can during this climate. So we spend a lot of time doing training, awareness, and engagement in the community. So a lot of community education. So that can look a little different. It comes in different forms. It could be a 15-minute talk to talk about our services, or it could be more education around child abuse and domestic violence. But we do have an array of education topics that we can talk about. We do child abuse. When we do the child abuse, it does meet the requirements for the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. So you can receive an in-service form for that. We do the 3-hour refresher, and we do the 6-hour initial training. We do classes around teen dating violence, of course, domestic violence and stalking and other related issues. So we try to meet the needs of the community. So if you have something in specific that you're trying to, a goal you're trying to reach with education, we'll do our best to try to accommodate that. We also go to a variety of places. We can do the training virtual, or we can come in person. Again, providing we can, do right now in this climate, provide the barriers that we need to be safe. So we can come to anywhere, social groups, health and wellness fairs, organizations, businesses. We work in the faith communities. So wherever it is that folks want to receive that education. We do professional trainings. So again, on all the topics that I discussed earlier, but we can provide CEUs for individuals, but this training is a bit on a higher level, and it's appropriate professionals working with individuals and families. So again, we want to make sure that people have the understanding they need to be able to be, more effective in the work that they do. When you think about domestic violence and child abuse, these are complex topics. So we just want to make sure that we can provide information that is, again, relevant for the need of the individual. We're also in the community as much as possible. We attend resource events, so we do tabling, we attend collaborative meetings. So we just want to be engaged and involved. We want to work with other organizations to be able to provide support to the people that they're working with, or again, to the professionals working with individuals. So we have resource materials that we can provide. Again, we can provide the education, we can attend meetings to provide information, and we're involved in a couple awareness tours. Currently, we go out with Renee Jones in the Red Cord outreach. We also work with Thrive peer support outreach. So we just want to be in the community, being able to provide the awareness that is needed. When you think about domestic violence and child abuse, it's coupled with so many other things, such as substance abuse and other issues. So we just want to partner with folks to be able to bring people to a wholeness and wellness, peace of mind. So some of
Carrie, I'm going to interrupt. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We would love to know. So we know that you all are here now, but has anyone ever attended a training or outreach event prior to today? And I see some familiar names from Lunch and Learn. So ignore that you've been to a Lunch and Learn in the past 4 weeks. Great. Most people have answered, and it looks like we've got yes, a couple folks said yes, lots, and someone said no. So thank you for being here. We hope that this will be the first then of many. So Carrie, sorry for interrupting. Take it away again.
No, that's my fault. Thank you. So so we're glad you're here today. And again, we can, we want to provide that education piece anywhere that we can. So glad you're here today. So a lot of folks ask if we offer parenting classes. We have in the past. We have several facilitators, including one of our advocates that work in the Latina Project. We went through the ACT evidence-based parenting program. It's a very strong program. It's a 7-week curriculum. We used to provide that in the past, but unfortunately, due to funding cuts, we aren't able to offer that at this time. It is something that we are looking to bring back, but at this time, we do not have parenting classes. So here's my sad face. But do we have programs for children? Again, Unfortunately, we do have the therapy services, both in English and Spanish for children. But as far as our programming, unfortunately, again, because of some funding issues, we used to do the personal safety skills program in schools where we taught children how to recognize abuse and what to do if something happens. And we did this with pre-K to second grade. We can do this for organizations, but for us, going into the community to do it the way we used to do it, we can't. We used to go into schools. Unfortunately, we used to reach about 4,000 children a year with this program, but we can work with organizations to provide this program, because unfortunately it does come with a fee, but it is an effective program. I would receive disclosures from children when we were doing this program, because it's important for children to know what abuse looks like and then what to do if something happens. And most children don't know when something bad is happening, because it's done in such a way that it seems like the norm. So right now, we do have the therapeutic services for children, and our therapy department does offer art therapy for children. And again, we do the therapy in Spanish. Where are training sessions held? So we do training wherever we need to. We can come to locations, as I said before, or we can do it through Zoom. We try to continue to make it interactive during a Zoom session with questions and polls, small breakout groups, depending on the length of the training. But we are trying to make, we can do training wherever needed. Again, as far as long as it's needed. Some sessions are an hour, some sessions are 2 hours. As I said, the initial training for child abuse is 6 hours. So we are doing what we can to take education wherever we need to. And are there classes for men? Currently, again, we used to have a domestic violence education for men. We know that men are victims of abuse. Unfortunately, at this time, we are not able to provide that class. But any class that we're not providing, we are providing resources for individuals. So there are some places that they can go get these classes, but men are victims and we serve victims, all victims. But unfortunately, at this time, we don't have classes, the DV classes for men. Of course, when we had the parenting classes, we had many fathers come through. So I keep saying we don't have them, but we're working on bringing them back. That is something that, is a goal of mine, is to bring back the classes that we don't currently have, because we know they're impactful and effective for families, to rebuild families. So I guess at this point, I will open it to any questions. I think I kind of zoomed through, so if I missed anything, please, any questions that you might have.
Yeah, we don't have any questions in the chat, so folks, feel free to put those in the chat right now. We are monitoring it. But Carrie, I have a few questions. So you talked about the Latina Project, and we heard last week about the Justice and Advocacy Project, and program, and I know those are really similar. But how do the Latina advocates get clients?
The Latina advocates, and I'm sorry, I should have said this, they have 2 locations where they are stationed in the community. So one day they're at the Spanish American Committee, and there's another day that they have a space at La Plaza on the west side. So they are very immersed and immersed in the Latina culture with different organizations. So they get a lot of their referrals through organizations. So folks are, Latina clients are going into different organizations. It comes up that they have this issue, so they contact our advocates. Those organizations contact our advocates. We can receive clients through our 24-hour helpline, but a lot of them are word of mouth through referrals, or a lot through them being in the community and being referred by other organizations. And I should say recently, I failed to put this in here. Just last week, we released I call it a public service announcement, but our Latina advocates did a video in Spanish. This is the first time we've put something out in Spanish for the Latina community. So they did put that out, and it also included Gabriela Sahinkman, who is the Latina therapist. So she talked about why that therapy piece is important. So there's a lot of Latina organizations that are running that in the community, so that clients are also, individuals can also be aware of the work that they do.
Awesome. And so if anyone on the call here, they could either call our helpline or they could reach out to our office number and ask to speak to a Latina advocate, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Other questions. So how do folks get involved in our DV education class? I know you talked about the FEEB and a little bit of a process, but if someone on the webinar today had a client, what would they need to do, or what are the steps they would need to take to get their client into DV education?
They would call our 24-hour helpline. So if they call the helpline, they'll be routed to Dina Washington, who is our advocate and facilitator for our classes. So she will do an intake with them and schedule them for group. Again, the classes are a little bit smaller than normal because we're taking precautions, but they can be scheduled for a class once they do the intake. And when she does the intake, she also does a danger assessment to make sure that until they get into class, if there's any safety needs that they have, that those can be addressed while they're waiting to get into class.
Awesome. And then she can refer to whoever, all of our other great services that folks have learned about.
Absolutely.
And then another question, because it's you outreach and me training on here, how do folks get involved, or who would they contact if they wanted a training, or they wanted us to come to a resource table? What's the best way for them to have
One of
journey
two
there?
ways. Again, I always refer back to the helpline, because if you call the helpline, you're going to get any resource that you need. So individuals can contact our helpline and call us through the helpline and ask for Megan or myself, or through an email we have if you go to our website, there is a, Megan, help me, what's it called?
The contact us?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, the contact us. If you do the contact us and just say, hey, I want a speaker, can you send, would somebody be available to come to our organization? That will be routed to either Megan or myself, and then we'll reach out and be more than happy to schedule something. So I always, refer back to the helpline for pretty much everything, because if you contact our helpline, you're going to get the resource that you need. But certainly you can email us directly if you like, or through our contact us.
Awesome. I think that's all the questions I have. So if folks have any questions, we've got about 10 minutes. You can put them in the chat. And yeah, I'll just reiterate, if someone emails me and it's something Carrie should be at, I'm always emailing her, and vice versa. We're in communication to make sure that, and if it's not one of us, it's someone else that knows the work and that can come and talk with you all.
Absolutely.
Well, then I'll go into my spiel while we wait for folks and talk about DVAM. It's wrapping up towards the end of the month. I just want to say thank you, everyone who participated in all of our lunch and learns. Folks participated in our week of action. Stay tuned to our social media. You're going to see some messages of support that were written by members of our community. Hope folks had a conversation. It looked like, per our Instagram poll, a lot of folks were having conversations on Saturday and Speak Up Saturday. And I did want to focus, you all have heard me talk about this the last few weeks, but today there's a vote happening and a hearing happening on the Family Violence Service Prevention Act that's happening, right now possibly, but it's happening today. So contact your representatives and let them know that you'd like that bill to be passed. VAWA is supposed to have been heard this week, last week. So also contact your representatives and let them know. Locally here in Ohio, I'm going to say it again, Senate Bill 90, Ohio is one of 2 states that does not have a felony strangulation law. And then also Aisha's law passed another, I'm going to say it incorrectly, went through another hearing and was passed by the subcommittee last week. So Aisha's law should be heading and taking the next step. So those are 2 really important bills for specifically domestic violence survivors and victims, for folks to know. And it looks like someone raised their hand, but I didn't catch it. So whoever that was, go ahead and you can write it in the chat box. Or if you're like me and sometimes just push buttons. So we'll give folks another minute or 2. Otherwise, Carrie, thank you so much for being here. This information is really important. I will be sending a follow-up email that includes my information, Carrie's information, so that if you have questions, you can contact us, as well as information about DVAM, and I'll include special this week information about the laws and bills that are important right now. So thank you all so much for being here. We'll stay on for another couple minutes. Otherwise, enjoy this gloomy day. I wish I could say sunshiny day, but this very gloomy, rainy day. So